Welcome to Embracing Life Again. I'm Catherine Kaufer, transition expert and minister. Together, we'll break through life's toughest barriers, rediscover joy, and start dreaming again. It's time to embrace life fully with purpose, passion, and hope. Welcome to Embracing Life Again. I'm Catherine Kaufer, your host, and today I have Sarah McKenzie with me, and we are going to be discussing animal therapy and equine therapy so you understand what it is and how it can benefit you and why in my segments I'm doing things with my horse and my dog. So here we go. So I want to introduce Sarah. Sarah has a bachelor's in psychology, a master's in child psychology. She's a registered behavioral therapist, and she's a PATH certified equine instructor in training. So she'll tell you what PATH is, but it is so hard to get a license for and do. So I wanted to bring her in because she knows the psychology between everything that we're going to be learning today. And so let's step in.
All right.
Okay. So I know people are wanting to know, what are the health benefits of animal therapy, equine therapy, right? So how does animal therapy help with anxiety and depression, right? And then does animal therapy and or equine therapy reduce stress?
Yeah, I love that question because with equine therapy, we help people of all abilities. So we really help foster critical thinking skills, maximizing full strength potential within every muscle of the body. Mm-hmm. There's so many different activities we can tie into our equine therapy classes. And so it really helps in so many variety of ways. So we help people with MS, cerebral palsy, dementia, and we have autism, Down syndrome, so many different abilities that we can help. And they gain confidence, they gain, again, the critical thinking skills, even if it's a game or a puzzle that we give them on a horse. We'll paint on a horse, blow bubbles on horses. All of these things mainly build that confidence. We see that confidence grow. So I could say that's the main thing we see our riders build. And people that I've worked with equine therapy is the confidence within themselves. Right. And a lot of the times these people don't have the one thing they're in charge of. Right. And so being able to say, hey, you get to ride this horse, you're in charge of this big animal, and it's you taking over. That means a lot to them. They're like, wow, I'm in charge. You've taught me how to be in charge of this animal. And it's really amazing to see them grow into that type of role and then be able to try new things each time. So with dogs and miniature horses and kitty cats and so that's animal therapy, right? Mm-hmm. They're not the big horse that we can ride. How does that help our mental health? With mental health, it's actually really cool because animals, even in their hair follicles, when we touch them, they can relieve our stress. And so that's one of my favorite fun facts about animals because that's something we don't always know, and that relieves so much of our stress and anxiety. And it's the same thing about doing an extracurricular activity on a horse or just holding a bunny rabbit in your lap. And petting them or petting a dog or being able to do something new in that way, they really help us kind of calm down and ease our anxiety, which is really cool.
Yeah. So what I've noticed with Zebe when I'm working with dementia patients, right? He goes in and you know how they're all like this in their wheelchairs and I swear they're drugged, but I can't prove that. They see him and they go, whoop! And they're fully alert and they're like, oh my God, it's a horse. And then they tell me their stories about when they had a horse and I've gotten letters back from the kids of the person that's going through dementia, and they're like, I haven't seen my mom smile in 2 years. Thank you so much. And
That's awesome.
I had no idea,
Yeah.
how it would mentally just activate them, right? Because it's a memory they have, and so it just stimulates them mentally, right?
And it changes their environment too, which is awesome. And they need that.
Right. And they love taking pictures with them, and it just makes their day. So I love going into senior homes and facilities and doing that with him. And they usually have a party for him, right? So it's like a harvest party or something. So they have it all decorated, and then they have all the people down around in a circle, or a half circle because he's right here.
That's so
and
cute.
then I'll just go person to person in their wheelchair, and they'll tell me a story. And I'm hoping one of these shows I can show you that, so you see just the amazing what happens, right? And with my dog, I would do that too, but it wasn't quite the same effect mentally. They would wake up and they'd want to pet it, but it wasn't the same aha moment, right, where they just woke up.
Yeah.
Okay. So emotional healing and trauma.
Yes.
How do animals help us with that? And especially, I know your expertise is equine, but I know you know animals too. So if you can say, how can animal therapy help trauma recovery? And I know right now you're working with a gal who she was in an accident, and something happened to her brain. I can't remember what happened to her brain, but she's riding the horses here, and and it's just helping her with her function, right? Mentally, or emotionally. But I don't know,
both, really. It ties everything together. And so equines are definitely my specialty, but I also have a service dog and I have a therapy dog, which is great, and I'm able to use both of them. I used to take them into hospitals as well, which is really cool. But with the emotional help, again, that confidence has so much to do. When you're able to take charge of, I get to pet a horse or I get to pet a dog, you gain that confidence. And even with kiddos, with a mini horse like Zebe, or elders, then Zebe giving him a little sniff, they're like, oh, the horse likes me. It's just like a dog. When a dog comes up and they give you a little lick, the dog likes me, and then you want to pet the dog more. So you get that confidence, and then it releases a serotonin. And that's something that not a lot of people might have access to because they're struggling with depression or they're struggling with anxiety. And that release of serotonin is a therapy for them. It's helping them. It's their, again, an extracurricular activity. Like I go on a run every day because that's my release. But them being able to be around Zebe or be around a dog or a rabbit or a cat, whatever it is, and that's releasing that. It helps emotionally, and it helps, again, with their stress and everything to ease it out because of that release.
So with the equine therapy that you do with kids that they even can have ADHD, but you can be mentally handicapped. You can talk about that.
Okay.
About the kids that you treat.
So I do have a kiddo. He started riding and he was so nervous.
But what is his?
He has a variety of disabilities.
Okay.
So he struggles with, he has autism and has depression and other disabilities that kind of all tie in. But he, from seeing his first lesson with sweaty palms on the saddle, and there would be like the palm prints there from him. All his handprint would be there. You could see every finger. And then now he's like, oh, I want to grab this toy and throw a ball while riding. And seeing that confidence boost, and he's smiling and he's enjoying it and he's not so nervous, is really, phenomenal to watch.
Have his parents seen any difference at home emotionally?
Yes. So actually we were able to get feedback from the parents, and they told us, so he is someone that he'll get overstimulated, and he has some overstimulation tells. So he tends to do, some fidgeting things with his hands when overstimulated, and he stutters a lot when talking. his parents told us he was interviewing for jobs with no stimming and full conversations.
You can't tell me how old he is, but,
right.
but he's old enough to have a job. So,
yes.
Okay.
So, we don't get to see that part of it. I
Right.
get to see him interacting with the horse and interacting in class, and I'm thinking, wow, he's made this progress, but I'm not seeing it outside of what I'm doing.
Right.
And so it's really cool to get that feedback from parents, knowing that it's helping his mental health and it's helping these other things along his journey and his path, which is really cool.
Perfect. So how about trauma?
Trauma
It's a big one.
It's a big one.
Yeah.
And I think that with a horse, it's a large animal, and that's really scary.
Yeah.
And so meeting people where they're at, right? They don't need to ride a horse, just like the mini horses, right?
That's where Zebe would come in.
Right.
Right.
So we don't need to ride a horse to be able to help, especially if it's with trauma. So again, the hair follicles, us create, like becoming one and connecting, creating that connection. We do like horse breathing, it's kind of like goat yoga. When you see goat yoga, it's kind of the same thing. It's a release of serotonin. You're getting an exercise in. You can do that with horses too.
Right.
So hugging on the horse, breathing with the horse, stretching next to the horse, just doing little games, maybe even walking with the horse. It's wild to me to see someone who has trauma in their life and they don't have that freedom to feel confident next to this big animal, because of their traumas. But then knowing they're working through those traumas, you might not even see, like I said with one of my riders, I don't see what happens on the outside of it. I see what's happening in with me, and watching, again, even if we're just walking the horse and we give the rope, okay, like I've seen you several classes, you've grown in confidence, now it's your turn. And then they get to come back and tell me their stories of how their trauma has been a lot easier to handle or deal with.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. With Zebe, I had a boy who his parents adopted a brother, and he just, I don't know what it was, but it triggered him so badly. He was having a lot of issues. So the parent came to me, and we just played games with Zebe, and he loved it, and he wanted then to share it with his brother. So things, so it just kind of accumulates, right? And then you see the effect, and it's beautiful. Horses are magical anyway. I mean, everybody tells you they're magical because they are. They have this healing benefit about them. And so
everything stacks on top of you, like one benefit over the next, over the next, over the next. And it comes, I think it really starts with the confidence and having and adding an extracurricular activity to someone's day. So they're doing something.
Yeah.
It's almost a force. Sometimes you have to force yourself to go on a mental health walk, right?
Absolutely.
For yourself. But
every day.
Right, every day. But if we can give that little push, come play with the horse, come walk the horse, come play a game with our horse, or even with a dog, it opens the doors for growth.
And tell me about horses mirroring you.
That's really cool.
Explain what that means to
I
the
can
audience, because
I
won't say it as well as you do. So go ahead.
A horse can hear, one of the coolest things, I think, a horse can hear and feel your heartbeat from 1.5 meters away.
Yep.
That's crazy. So before, when I have two horses of my own, when I pull up to feed them in the mornings, I park really close and I open that door. When my feet are on the ground, I'm out of my car, they can sense, like, she's having a bad morning, they're picking up what I'm putting down. And every horse can do that, right? They can hear us, they can feel us. And so if I go in with a big grumpy face, then they're going to have their ears pinned back, and that's mirroring
they're going to wonder
my
what's
attitude.
Up. What's up? And since they're a flight animal,
they'll be scared.
They're going to wonder what's up.
Yeah.
What do I need to be afraid of, right?
Yeah. And they are prey, right?
Yep.
So that's in their mind. They're like, wait, what's wrong? What's going on? So they're mirroring that. But if I come lighthearted, then usually they, a little trollop up to the front. They're like, hello, hi. hi, what are we doing today? And so they really do mirror your attitude and how you're feeling. And then it's the same thing if I have a rider or someone coming to even help me groom, because I have people that want to hang out with my horses, so I'll let them come and hang out, and just to groom or even to help give a bath or to muck their stalls, things like that. If they come in sad, I can see my horses kind of mellow out.
Yes.
And then they'll go be with them.
Yes.
And it's very interesting to watch, because I'm like, well, you weren't cuddling me. What? You know, like, what the heck?
You didn't need
you
it.
didn't do
You
that
didn't
to
need
me.
it.
And it's really awesome to see, because they sense that. And so I'm like, you're sensing something that that's deeper down that I can't see.
Right.
It's not on the cover, right? It's in the book.
So true, so true. So I also had a family come. The boy was dealing with depression, and it was his birthday. So his whole family came to the barn. I said, okay, Zebe's going to know who needs him the most. So I lined them all up, and I'm like, they're all shouting because they all want Zebe to come to them, right?
Cute.
He goes right to the boy that needed it, puts his head down on him, and they're like, I wanted Zebe. You know, the whole family.
Yeah.
I said, but why is he here?
Right.
The horse knows.
Yeah.
They just know.
They just
and it's
know.
just so amazing.
They're smart. They're
Very.
smarter than we give them.
Well, do you know how smart they are?
How? How smart are they?
They are so smart that they are training them to be CNI dogs. The miniature horses. Yeah.
I actually did not know that.
They
That's
live
really
to
cool.
40, 45 years.
Yeah.
And they also, their height, they're 38 inches or less, right?
Mm-hmm.
So they're more the height of the person, and they can be trained to be potty trained. So
right.
Ha! That's awesome. So you probably be seeing more of those. I know they are training them now to see how it goes. I don't know how far along they are. I need to look that up.
That's really cool, though. I didn't know that. I think that's awesome, because one, they're stronger too than a little dog. You know, like I have my service dog, and she's a little lap dog. She tells me when my blood sugar is low. Mm-hmm. But if a horse is a lot sturdier and stronger and can carry all the things, she just comes out, she's like, hey, you need to eat. So that's really cool. I think that's awesome.
Yeah. So that's something new that we will probably be seeing in the near future.
That's awesome.
I know you know how they have seeing eye dog school?
Yes.
I don't know if they have seeing eye mini school.
Mini schools.
I don't know. We'll find out that for sure. So what kind of animals are used in therapy?
All animals can be used in therapy. Every type of animal, even hamster, can be used for therapy.
It's crazy to me, because it's like a rabbit, a hamster. I've heard of a snake. I've heard.
Yeah. I'm not a fan of snakes,
no,
but
me
I
either,
have heard
but some people love it.
But I've heard
some people love it.
Yes.
Yeah. And so, but there is training that you have to go through, or you and them have to go through. So whoever the handler is has to go through that training with them, and then they're assessed. Like Zebe's assessed every 2 years to stay registered, and it's an hour-long test, I guess is the best way to put it, right?
Right.
They put him through everything. They're not just judging him, they're judging if I can read him, if I can, know if he's going to be doing something, funny, or what commands I give him, or how I have him, how I even speak to the person that I'm approaching, right? So it's both are tested, and they really test for demeanor. They test for obedience and training.
Yeah, we don't need a rabbit that's going to bite us every 2 seconds.
I can't imagine.
I know.
I can't imagine a rabbit.
I know.
Being trained for that, but
if
it
they're
does happen. It is
food hungry, right? If carrots, reinforcement. That's the only way I can see it working. I like holding rabbits and being able to pet them and hold them, but training is a whole nother story. Not my ball game.
Right. So equine therapy, we already talked about that, but it differs from regular animal therapy because equine is usually bigger horses, correct?
Correct.
And you can ride them.
Yes.
Right? But even Zebe's equine but not the rideable equine.
Right.
Right? So is
Right.
there a difference with that, or
I
is
think-
it just depending on the child or the adult, right? So if the adult is scared of a horse, you'd start with Zebe,
Right.
right? And even some
Yeah.
people have going, oh, to that too, right? But then I'll just have him
Yeah.
doing something, and then they'll walk up to him slowly, and,
Yeah.
and they'll get over that fear. And then we graduate him up to the big horse.
Right, and I've done that, and I actually have a client right now that we're doing that with. We started him with 2 minis, and we started class. We'd walk around the class, and he was really afraid.
Yeah.
And our goal was standing next to the mini for 5 seconds, and then he could have a break.
Okay.
Yeah, that way it wasn't overstimulating, and it was enjoyable, and he was still getting a benefit. He was achieving the goal we gave him, right?
Was this autistic kiddo?
Yes.
Yeah.
And he did so great.
Yeah.
And then we got to touch the mini. And then after a few classes of doing games and the mini's following us, and he's like, oh my gosh, why is the horse following
What am
us?
I doing? Yes.
So we're obviously not on the horse, right? But then that's the goal.
The goal is to get on the horse.
Overall goal is that mom really wants him to participate in riding equine therapy.
Yeah.
And so to get him to achieve that goal, we're not going to be like, okay, bud, get on the horse. Especially when he's looking at the horse like, you're crazy, you're so
crazy.
big. So we started with the minis, and we slowly graduated. Now we're doing the same type of lesson. So we have a game incorporated within the time of our session, and we get to play a game, and we get to do all the things we do in a riding lesson, but we've graduated to a bigger horse. And so now it's all over again. It's like, oh, this is crazy. This is a big horse. And so our goal now, we've kind of graduated up to standing next to a big horse for 10 seconds. And he will show his telling signs of being a little overstimulated. So we give him a 30-second break every time he's achieved that.
That's really cool.
And we had a session 2 or 3 days ago, and he was showing his normal telling signs he was overstimulated, but he was smiling the whole time.
Yeah, so you have to look at everything to see if you see any improvement, any changes.
Yeah, and we definitely don't want to overstimulate if they don't like it, right? But he's tolerating it, and now he's smiling. And then when he has his 30-second break, he used to walk away. Like, okay, this is my time to be alone. And now he stays with us.
Okay.
And in our class this last week, the horse snorted, and I remember the first time that happened, he jumped, and it was like, oh my gosh, what just happened? And he did it a couple days ago, and he looked at me, and he laughed and kind of like slapped his knee, and I was like,
oh, that's cute.
I was so
How
adorable.
cute.
And he definitely was afraid with the first couple of classes, and it was really sweet because this week he came up and put his arm around me and walked with me, and I was like, this is awesome. So it's helping his mental health, it's helping him socialize with another human, and it's helping him get comfortable with an animal that can really help him with so many of his disabilities. So that anxiety, the depression, the autism, and really, again, fostering the critical thinking skills is so key with what we do, because he's in charge of his body on the horse once he gets on, right? He's playing the game. We're giving him a goal.
It helps him too.
So physically, especially with clients like this who stim a lot and have different stims.
What do you mean by stems?
So they'll have like hand fidgets, or maybe hair pulling, or hand squeezing, different things. And so a lot of the times you'll see kiddos with chewies with autism that they can put in their mouth because they're feeling overstimulated, so they can bite down on it.
I don't know all that.
See, so different things to help with that. But a lot of the time, the movement the horse provides, they'll stop stimming and they calm down, and they can ride. And then you see them wanting to play a game off the horse, but they're overstimulated because they're so excited. I want to pick the ball up. I want to throw the ball. They're so excited and overstimulated. But then when they're in the movement of the horse, they can grab the ball and they can throw the ball and they can achieve these goals and play these games that they weren't able to before. So it's really awesome to see.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, and scientifically, I know that our heartbeat is so much more than a horse's, right? I mean, ours is so much. But what happens is our heartbeat mimics the horses when you're near them or when you're on them. And so that totally helps them, anybody. I mean, I've had horses since I was 8 years old. They're my therapy. I mean, right? I mean, I have to see my horse every day just because I love them. However, I was going to ask you about PTSD because my favorite horse, my dream horse died in 2020. And I'm like, I really want a big horse again. So I got who I thought would be my next dream horse. Unfortunately, he liked to bolt. And what bolting is, when they get scared or they just run.
They gone.
They're just like, boom, I'm gone.
Yeah.
And I was walking him, and someone was on the other side of the arena. I was walking him, right? Because he just wasn't right that day, and I should have known it. I should have just like, nope, I'm not going to deal with you today. But unfortunately, I did. So I was walking him, and then big thump on the other end of the other side of the arena where he couldn't see it.
Yeah.
So he bolts, and he had bolted before, and I held on. Not a good thing. This time, I'm like, okay, I'm letting you go. He loops around and goes, whoop, kicks me in the head. I have this beautiful scar. And the ER surgeon's like, you were this close to being killed instantly. I'm like, ugh.
That's
so
crazy.
Guess what? I have PTSD with big horses now.
Yeah. Yay.
So Sarah's gonna be helping me with that.
Yes. I'm so excited.
So, yeah, because if they act up or anything, I automatically get triggered, and I'm like, and I freeze.
It's a fight or flight.
Yeah.
It's a freeze.
It's like, oh my goodness.
Yeah.
And so we're gonna be working on that, and we will be filming that. Yeah.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
I'm excited.
So what's in store for me?
What's in store for you? Well, my horses are giant horses. So
That's what scares me now.
So I have very large horses. They are half quarter horse and half Percheron.
Yep.
So they're perfect size. We get to start off slow.
See, you can already tell I'm so thrilled about
So
this.
thrilled. Well, my horses thankfully like lots of cuddles, so we'll probably start off with grooming. I think that's always a great start. Grooming
If they're tied up, I'm fine.
Right.
It's me walking
It's
them.
you walking them. But I think with the grooming, a lot of the time riders will, or just people that have, all this horse experience, they want to come in and they're like ready, but they don't realize that when you stop and groom your horse, the horse connects with you, and you connect with the horse. And it's a connecting experience that whenever someone's like, can you work my horse out for me? I can get him ready. And I'm like, oh no, that's okay. I would actually prefer to get them ready and groom them and put everything on them, because I'm building that connection with the horse,
and you're
I'm
going to be riding them.
Preparing our relationship for me to get on them and
so
ride.
They have to trust you.
Right.
And so you're doing that trust connection thing.
And so that's how I would start off every time we work on it. So nice start grooming little session. Get to know my horses a little bit. They're sweethearts. One is a big baby and one is extremely intelligent and it's way too good for his own good. Like way too smart for his own good is the saying. But he was a therapeutic riding horse before, and he had broken his shoulder. And the vet here in Nevada said the best thing for him is to have someone walking him and weaving cones and going over poles on the ground. I can
do that with Zebe, no problem.
Yeah, so we
can do all that with Zebe.
We can start off, Sully over there, my slow guy. He's healing, you're healing.
Okay.
It'll be a good experience.
Okay.
With me so far, I can take their halters off and just, point and tell them what to do, and they'll listen, which is really awesome.
Nice.
So
Nice.
I'm hoping, obviously, you can get to that point too and be trusting.
So what about other PTSDs? Like my stepbrother, he is a cop, and he's going through huge PTSD right now.
Wow.
He got shot at, and the bullet went, it missed him. And that has just triggered everything that he's experienced in law enforcement, which you go, think right? I mean, is there something different you do with him?
So a lot of the times what we can do too, like what you were saying, when Zebe goes in and it's a different switch that goes off,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So with being with the bigger horses, it's a different switch that goes off. We don't necessarily have to ride. Like if he didn't want to ride, he didn't have to ride. Like you're not like, let's hop on your horses, you know?
Right.
You want to walk. It can be a therapy session, almost like talk therapy.
Okay.
And it can help trigger conversations.
Okay.
And maybe he's holding a lot on his chest and has a lot of weight on his shoulders that he's not able to express. Yeah. But if he's able to open up while doing an extracurricular activity like that.
And that's what usually happens when I do my therapy with Zebe. I'm
people
talking
open up,
to them and they're like, I don't know why I just told you that. And I'm like, well, it's because you trust
serotonin release. It's the trust.
Yeah.
It's you're petting them and the anxiety level goes away. So then they can have the trust and confidence to tell you things. It helps in ways we can't even imagine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
So I think that would be really cool to see what he could develop, you know.
Yeah. Well, he's riding with his buddy. And now he wants a ranch and he wants a horse.
It's addicting, let me tell you.
It is.
Now I have two. I'm like, I could move somewhere with a bigger barn and I could have more horses. It's fine.
Right?
It's an addiction for sure because it feels good. Yeah.
So, as we're wrapping up, is there anything else that you would like to say or give information with regards to anything that you think would be that I didn't cover?
We covered a lot.
I know.
I really liked that. We had a good time. I like that we got to do this and sit outside.
Oh,
it's
I
a
know.
Nice day.
Real quick.
Yeah. What is it?
How have you seen equine therapy benefit you
as
a path
instructor in training? All right. How has it affected me? It's definitely, I've gained confidence in areas that I didn't know I needed confidence in.
That's interesting.
Yeah. So I come from a very Western background. So in equine therapy, most of the time we use an English saddle. So when I started to become an instructor in this field, I didn't feel comfortable teaching and then not knowing how to write English. So I took my own English lessons and tried to foster some English writing within my realm of what I do. And so when I have now a Western saddle and an English saddle. Okay. So I will, try to practice knowing English and it's very different in ways I didn't know was different. So I gained more confidence in controlling a horse because I know two different ways now. And now also with doing this, I've worked with a variety of different horses, all with different personalities, just like us.
Right.
And growing up, I had these were our horses. These are the horses we rode. These are the horses we worked with. And then coming into a barn, these aren't my horses.
Right.
So one of the biggest things, I was almost afraid to tell the horses no, but I knew if it was my own horse, I wouldn't allow that, like whatever behavior, I wouldn't allow to happen.
Right.
But I was letting it happen. Right. So I was like, oh no, what am I doing?
Nope, you gotta tell them.
Yeah,
who's boss.
You gotta tell them who's boss because they're a big animal. And so I've gained a lot of confidence where I didn't even know I needed confidence in that area. But it's affected my stress levels and my anxiety levels as well. Because I work in a stressful environment with the therapy field and everything else. I'm constantly boom, 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 running all over the place. And then I get to come here and I immediately have a release. And
awesome.
It's my safe place. And just being outside with my horses is the best. I want to be here all day. It's all I think about all day long. Can't wait to get to my horses. I can't wait to get to my horses because it's such a release and it's my happy place. It's my happy time.
Right.
Yeah. And again, you don't realize that it's doing that to you until you're sitting at your desk all day, really bundled up and you're holding on, you're squeezing your hands and you're like, I just want to be with my horses. And I come here and I'm like, I feel so much better.
So true.
It's such a release, and it's helped a lot because then, and I've had one of my bosses at work. She says, "You're really good at what you do here. Are you sure you don't want this to be your career path?" And I'm like, "I'm good at this, but you haven't seen me passionate with what I care about also." Yeah. And so with the equine therapy, not only am I good at it,
You're passionate about it.
Not only am I good at with, like, you know, being with those types of clients of different varieties of abilities, but I'm passionate about it. And so I'm good and the passion all kind of connect, and it just, again, it becomes my safe place, and then it's a safe place for my riders too, because I feel that way. So
absolutely,
it's been an awesome journey. I can't wait to see where it continues to take me.
That will be awesome. Well, I want to thank you so much for being on the show.
Thank you.
And what else? Well, see me next Wednesday at 6 p.m. And I believe it is going to be on, I'm not going to tell you. But now stay tuned. You're going to have adventures with Zebe and Theo right now. Bye for now.
Coming up next, Adventures with Theo and Zebe, right here on Embracing Life Again with Catherine Kaufer.
So I'm now at the barn, and I'm at Zebe's favorite place. So this is Zebedee. He is my 10-year-old miniature horse who I got when he was 1 year old. I actually got him from a gal who had asked me, well, what do you want to do with a mini? And I said, hey, I want to do therapy with a mini. I've always wanted to do that. It's been a childhood dream of mine. Although I didn't know what I'd be doing with a mini, but God knew. So I got him a month before my husband was killed. And he was 1 year old at the time, never had been touched by a human. So to me, that was a really good thing, because he had no bad habits, and he had no bad experiences with humans, right? So I knew he'd be right for the job. So she comes and delivers him an extra large dog crate in the back of her truck. This is how little he was. And so I'm like, oh my gosh, what did I get myself into? And so he comes off the truck and he's running around like a little madman, and he runs into my big horse, who they just become the fastest buddies. I had no idea how tied to the hip they would be. It's like my horse just took him in like his baby. And you know, so the one condition of me getting Zebedee is, Pam said, you have to call him a biblical name. And I'm like, okay. So I go to bed that night and I'm like, God, I have no idea what name you want for this horse, right? And so I wake up at 11 o'clock and I hear Zebedee. And I'm like, what the heck does Zebedee mean? So I run downstairs, I get into Blue Letter Bible, and I look up the meaning for Zebedee. And I know it's John's and James's dad, right? But I didn't know it meant gift from God. And I'm like, wow, how appropriate is that? And even before my husband was killed, he said, you know, God is totally setting you up for your ministry. You understand that, right? And I said, yes, I do. And so anyway, I trained him, and he's been a registered therapy horse since he was 3 years old. He's allowed to go to any facility with supervision, and only I can handle him. But that's typical. Usually you're considered a therapy team, right? So the therapy team goes out, and that's usually the owner or the handler plus the dog or the horse or the bunny or the cat. It could be any animal, actually. So that is Zebedee's story. Now I want to introduce you to my other little guy, and he is Theodore. Come here, Theodore. Come here, babe. So Theo, he's a miniature Australian Shepherd. He's freaking adorable. I got him 2 weeks after my husband after he was killed. And his story is, hey Theo, look at me. Look at me. You're so cute. His story is that the gal, very hard to find any miniature Australian Shepherds in California. And one of my friends was like, Kath, you know, your other dog is dying. What can you do, right? And I'm like, I've always wanted a mini Australian Shepherd, black, you know, it's called black tri, because they're black, white, and brown, right? She goes, and so a week later, she goes, I found your dog. And I'm like, what? I said, my dog hasn't passed away yet, so I can't have another puppy. So then she goes, well, no, he has to go home with you on Sunday. And I'm like, why? And he goes, I'm like, oh my gosh. She said, call her. Just give her info. And I'm like, okay. So I call her and I say, why is he the last one? And she goes, do you think he's a reject? And she goes, no, he is pick of the litter. What happened is I just got a full ride scholarship for my PhD to be a therapist, and he'd be a perfect therapy dog. That is why I kept him, but I cannot take him to college with me. So I heard your story, and I want you to have him. And I'm like, oh my goodness. So I went and saw him with my girls. We all fell in love with them. We brought him home, and she said, okay, he will either help your dog to live, or he'll let her know that she's free to go. So at first, Theo was really good. I mean, he just loved her and she loved him, and then she lasted 2 more weeks, and then she died. And he was our therapy for our long journey with regards to me being a widow and my girls losing their dad. And so both of these animals have been just instrumental in that, and that's kind of how they were trained through, me going through my grief and my transition, right? So I just wanted to give you their story and their background, and I will talk to you later. You've taken the first step to embracing life again. Let's continue to break barriers, find joy, and dream without limits. Join us next time, and let's discover inspiration through every transition together.